Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I think with disallowing closed generics, or at least making them warnings, or at least to the point of, I don't know what I'm saying. Basically, I think what's happened is with having them be open generics, it actually removes problems. If I look at compare with unmodified, it used to say a type converter with a type node, which is this class. Okay. So if I make a type node here, you'll notice that the second one here is a type node. So because of the way the generics works, this was T-type, but passing in type node made that T-type, and then you got these duplicate matches here. The same thing is true with the duplicate constructors, because if these are both set to being object, then yes, you have duplicate constructors. You can still run into that if you have open generics, because somebody could create expectations of object, but that's on you as a developer. That's not on Rocks anymore. That if you would do that, just inheriting from this class yourself and setting both of these being object, you would run into that, and that would be something you would have to figure out. How do I get around that? So this is actually interesting, because I might be able to actually get rid of two other analyzers. I'm going to leave them in for now because reasons, but I do want to say duplicate constructor descriptor. Let me make some notes here. So, and I want to make the notes in the right thing, which is removing the existing attributes. Actually, well, no, it's not that one. It is, where is it? Somewhere down here. Open. That doesn't, only allow open generic definitions. And this is in 9. An interesting side effect is that we probably no longer need these analyzers, descriptors, etc. Duplicate constructor, descriptor, and then what is this one? So we may be able to actually get rid of these as well. Don't have to do that for now. But I don't even think these tests are valid anymore, because there's no way to get this to happen. Well, let me keep them in for now. But if I keep them in, we're getting the warning that, okay, so I had to reason in my head for a second what I wanted to do here. So we don't want this. We want to get the compare with unmodified. And we want it to go back to the way it is. And then we take that out. But what we want to say now is that there is a diagnostic here with non-virtual diagnostic. But there's also going to be a, if I could type, open generic diagnostic, which is going to be type is closed. Let's name this right, closed generic. Type is closed generic, and this should be a warning. And so now what we want to do is, I don't think it matters, but let's see what this does. The span is wrong because it's going to be somewhere else. But let's see, mismatch, expected to actually 1. I don't get this one. Reported diagnostic with ID 14 is not supported by the analyzer. Oh. Well, can't win them all. Type is closed, generic descriptor, create. There we go, yay. Okay, now let's see what this does. Probably still fail. Oh, now it passes. Okay, so that's actually good. Let's just take off this. Well, no, the span is fine because the span is where it is. So if we actually go to this one now too, and we say that we want to say 45 in this case. It still fails. Why does it fail? One actually, because I'm stupid. I didn't put it in there. And now it passes. Good. Okay, so when we get to the point of actually completely disallowing them, because you can still do it, you're going to get a warning now, but you can still do it. And yeah. Okay. So if we run these tests now, they should all pass. And they do. So let's commit this. 326 added. Come on. Added descriptor plus diagnostic. Added check and mock model updated tests. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to do the classic shutdown startup again. We're going to run all of them because this could end up becoming interesting. Drama. Just like in F1 today. I was watching the highlight. I don't watch the race. I watch the highlights. But yeah, watch. I don't understand the actual. There was the one in Hungary. I believe it was in Hungary. And McLaren had a 1-2, but Norris was in front. He was P1, and he was like increasing his lead to Piastri. And they were basically telling him, you need to let Piastri win. I'm like, I don't understand that. I don't get, because Norris is higher up in the championship standings than Piastri is. And why switching them? Like, that doesn't matter for the constructors. So I was like, I'm missing something. I don't understand why that is the way it is, but I don't know. So it was fun to listen to the drama with Verstappen on the radio and McLaren to some degree. But anyway, all right, let's run all tests and let's see what happens. They all pass now. That's good. Let's run the code generation tests. And it's going to take a little bit of time, so I'll see what happens when this runs. I'll be right back. Everything passes, so that's good. So I think with this one, we have completed what we wanted to do, which is adding a analyzer, diagnostic, really what it is. So we could say added a diagnostic to warn about mocking closed generic types. And that is 326 as the issue. Nice. All right, so I think that one is done. Git commit updated 326 updated change log time for a merge. All right, so I'm going to do the merge and set up the branch for the next thing that we're going to work on. Be right back. Okay, why not? Let's fix this bug. So I think the right thing to do would be to base it off of this. I want to be very conscious of the fact that we want to do this as recursive descent, or looking into all the types of all the parameters, and if they're generic, then what those types are, and yada, yada, yada. Because we want to find this everywhere. Okay. So what do we do first? We write a test. And not exception tests, generator tests. This one, do we have something called default constraint? Let's call it default constraint generator tests. Well, we have constraints here. Let's actually, I mean, this is long, but let's remove that one and let's add it to here. Again, the reason these files get so long is because the generated code is in there. So public static async task create with default constraint generated in. Let's call it generated. Excuse me. Generated default constraint async. Okay. So what's the first thing we're going to need is some code, and that'll be the code from the test here. We're going to do all this. I believe we can do using rocks. In fact, I should just start using the non-generic version everywhere. Assembly rock create type of class map open that. Okay. And there shouldn't be anything else in this. Be a bool and whatever. Okay. So now we say our generated code. We don't know what that looks like off the top of our heads because that gets pretty intense, as you can see. I could not write that off the top of my head. So, which again, when they talk about source generators, one of the things or criteria that they talk about with the source generator is it should be it's there to replace you writing code that you would do normally. That's a little bit of a stretch here with rocks, but if you wanted to mock, you could do it. You'd have to manually roll all the mocks yourself, or you could use this. So that's my justification, and I'm sticking with it. Rock attribute generator. Yes, that's right. Okay, so we want to say here that it's going to be class map. And the file name is probably wrong. We do have open generic tests, right? Yes. So what happens when that occurs? I forget my naming. Yes, it would be I request. It's not great. I will admit that. Class map of T class. I don't particularly like the name that it ends up doing, but you can have brackets. We could put, you can have the carets, whatever they're called, brackets, carets, parentheses. You can't have those in file names, so I just don't put them in there. And the file name really doesn't matter because we don't really care. At least I don't care. All right. So what does this generate? So we're going to first tell us what's wrong because we're not matching on the right code, which is fine. So we go through the dance of trying to get all the code. Okay. So we'll grab all that, and then we'll put that in our generated code, and then we'll get rid of the pluses. Okay, now we should see an error, though, because it's going to tell us something about default, right? Yeah, diagnostics. There's 2 annotation for null. Oh, sorry. Nullable enable. I forget to do that. It passes? Really? Because it shouldn't. Map T member. Map nullable. Oh, we're already doing it. Oh, I bet I know what's wrong. We're not doing it if it's embedded. That's the problem. I bet that's the problem. Okay. So let's do that here. Let's have a map nullable of a I list of T member. And that's all we want. We don't care about the rest of these because I've just convinced myself I am doing the right thing. I'm just not doing what I originally said at the beginning of this video, which is recursive descent. So let's say, and that's probably not the right term, system collections generic, I believe, is, if I say I list, yeah, okay. Run the code here. That fails. What does it look like? Grab all this. Hopefully this succeeds, or fails. I'm sorry. It succeeds by failing. Yes. And now we're going to say 5. Yeah, that looks like what I'm seeing here. Yes. Okay. Yes. 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 So if I go down to here, toString, yes, we do not put we're team members. So that's the problem. Okay. Actually, let me make a quick note here. As I'm writing tests for this, I've realized Rox is doing the right thing for the class map example above. But what it's missing is what the CSV parser example shows, in that the type parameter is embedded within another type. Is it parser or parsing? Helper. Okay, cool. So at least we know what the problem is. And I think it's get constraints. Well, we don't want it in the tests. We want get constraints. And I think it'd be here, right? So we say get the constraints here. And so we are doing a default. We have to be doing a default somewhere. Okay, so I believe this is the one that we're running into. Actually, extract the static. No, I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that. Constraints, EquatableArray. Okay, this is another one. This is where you can actually define your own, like, support for collection expressions on your own type. And so what I would like to do here is to say, hold on, let me find that. Okay, it's this article from Andrew Locke. I remember seeing this a little while ago, and I'm glad I put it in the back of my head. So what you can, it takes a little bit of work, but you can use this collection builder attribute, and you can put it on your own thing and say how you want to create stuff. So I think what I may want to do is let's put in another issue. Not going to fix it here, but let's do a new issue here. Let's say new issue, add collection expression support to equatable, what is it called again in my code? EquatableArray. And this is purely for rocks, but it would make my code slightly, I think I should add support for collection expressions to Equatable. That would make code like this. We'll fill that in a second. Reduce to this. More information. We'll put in a link to his thing. So what I would like to do is be able to take something like this. Nope, don't need to qualify it there. Reduce to this, because then what we could say, instead of to immutable array, we could do that and that. And that would be very sweet to be able to do that. So let's put the labels on, enhancement, low priority, but we do want to do this in 8.3 because I think this would be actually helpful. So, okay, cool. Captured another issue. So at this point, where are we at? I think we're at the right point of where we want to do the thing. It's right here. But I'm getting near, not just the time for this video, but I've recorded 3 videos in a row right now. And so I think I want my brain to take a little bit of a break and address this later. Just looking at this, if any of the parameters equals the type parameter, if the type equals the type parameter and that is null, it has a nullable annotation, then we need to default. I think what we need to put in here, though, is say if any of the parameters does this, or any of the parameters within it. We got to figure out how to say dive in all the parameters, and then their parameters, and then their parameters, and just keep going. So we might have to write a method to do that. But I think we know where the culprit is. So in the next video, I will start working on trying to get this to work so that we catch those cases. Thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.